welcome to play with us today. And I know I'm bouncing around like crazy. I'm really excited in this beautiful rose-colored room of mine. I have Linda Edmiston with me today, and we are going to be speaking about some magical things today. I'm very, very, very excited. Welcome, Linda.
Thank you. I'm very excited to be here.
So if you are currently in the room and you're watching the show live, you lucky person, please feel free to type in the chat and say hi, give us your name, tell us who you are, tell us a little bit about you if you want to, and please, if you have any questions you'd like to ask Linda, type it in the chat. As we go along, we're going to be playing with some interesting and fun stuff today. I'm really, really excited about this. But just so that you know a little bit about Linda, if you've never seen her before, you don't really know who she is, I'm going to give you a bit of background on her. She started her journey into transformational work over 10 years ago when her life crashed around her with death, divorce, and loss of her job. We know how this works, eh? Right. It's what happens. It's just what happens to us. It was a dark time, and she felt alone, scared, and had no idea what she was going to do or how she would even survive. And how many of you that are watching right now have had the same experience? Linda remembers the moments her life changed. She was sobbing, wrapped up in a blanket, feeling so much pain, loss, and fear. And the thought crossed her mind that it might be just easier to just end it all. Suddenly, the knowing slammed her in the heart, and she had two choices. She could make right then and there. She could end it all, as we've all had that moment in time, I'm pretty sure, or she could choose to be happy. In that moment, she felt the part of her heart and her soul scream out, I'll do anything to be happy. At that point in her life, Linda couldn't even say that she'd ever felt happy. So she had no idea what that even meant. But in that moment, she chose to be happy no matter what she had to do to get there. And I'm sure some of you might have had that experience or not yet had that experience. Maybe you're in the depths of despair, not knowing where this is going to come from or what it even feels like. Within days of making that declaration to the universe, she was directed to an amazing life coach and wisdom teacher, and she opened herself up to this. She opened up to self-development, to possibility, and to the tools to help to change her life. And from that point on, Linda has been on a journey in living her life with so much love, joy, happiness than she ever thought possible. She feels so blessed to have come from the depths of despair to live a life full of joy and happiness. And Linda is here to help others to reach that knowing in their own lives of how amazing life can and is right now. So, Linda, welcome. Yeah.
Thank you.
Kim is in the room with us. Welcome, Linda.
Oh,
wow.
When I think back, it just brings back like how far I've come. And it's I'm very grateful for that journey. I'm so excited to be here and to let other people know that they're not alone.
Yes. And I'd like to open up the space as something that I've just been bringing in recently is opening up the space for the show for us all to take a big deep breath. So if you're watching the show right now, if you're watching live or if you're watching the replay, just take a deep breath and imagine connecting in with our beautiful earth, feeling a crystalline center core, the crystal core, feeling ourselves like roots growing down into the center of the earth, feeling supported, feeling safe, feeling strong. Another deep breath. Send your energy into the center of the earth, just grounding yourself, making yourself calm, bringing yourself into this moment, calling all of yourselves back towards yourself, back into this moment. And the final deep breath, breathe it in. And just relax, exhale, sigh it out. We can stop running. We can just be in this moment right here, right now with Linda. So if you are in the room with us, I see that there's some beautiful friends that have just joined us. If you've had your deep breath, then you can also share with us that you're in the room and say hi. We've got Kim who said hi, and I'm just wanting to know, Kim, is the screen still frozen? If it is still frozen, she's not going to be able to answer me, but maybe it's not. Who knows? With technology, we never know where we're going to go, what's going to happen. It's just like, oh, well, this is fun. So, Linda, today we're speaking about happiness, and I know that you have some treats for us up your sleeve. So tell us a little bit about, your experience with happiness, and, a lot of what we were talking about when we decided on what we were going to discuss in the show was, are you genuinely happy? What is your take on being genuinely happy, and with your journey, how has this been about in your life?
So for me, happiness is that entire feeling of how you're going through your life. Happiness is the term that I use for the joy, the juiciness of life, the excitement of what the new day holds. And happiness really, for me, it allows us to have a very quick emotional feeling that shows us where we're at, how close we're in our heart, how connected we're feeling to the world, to the universe, to spirit. And when we're out of alignment, or we're stuck in our mind, or we're stuck in our belief systems, we're not feeling that sense of absolute joy from your heart. And so it's a really, for me, such an easy way to go, oh, wait, I'm not quite present. Let me stop a second, take some deep breaths, and center in and decide, oh, what's coming up for me right now? Because we spend our whole lives wanting this idea of happiness being outside of ourselves. And it's not at all outside of you. It's inside your own heart. But we're not taught how to do that. We're taught, heck, it's even in our Constitution, right? Life, liberty, and a pursuit of happiness. Like you're going to chase it. Well, we know what happens if you chase something. It just runs faster. Because it's not something for us to get from our job or from our relationships or from that new car. It's from our heart. And so we have to rewire what we believe happiness is and how we obtain it. You know, I wanted to be happy no matter what. And what I found was, oh, all of my blaming my job for my unhappiness, my relationship for not feeling connected. Turns out it was all inside of me. So I had to start to look inward and release that past pain, heal it, figure out what I was trying to get from these people and these situations so that I could actually give it to myself.
Wow, I'm putting my mute button on so that if I make any sounds that it doesn't interrupt with your beautiful, speaking there. So that's really amazing, because I think sometimes we think that happiness is something that's determined by what's happening in an external experience. And what you're saying is no. Happiness is an inside job,
Mm-hmm.
and all happiness comes from within you. It's not something that is outside of you, that you have to get something in order to be happy. Like, if I have this, then I'll be happy. If I have this, then I'll be happy. It's like, no. I am me, and I am choosing to be happy. And I think that's like, when you actually really get that as the concept of that and understand what that means, it's like game over, right?
Yeah. And then everything in your life starts to expand and grow. And even the same exact situation, your perception has changed. So you're able to look at it in a different way. But we all do it, right? I call it our happiness list. I'll be happy when. Mm-hmm. And I think this is where we get our own lives kind of caught up in this. And for me, that's kind of has my life crash down. I can look back and realize it was because I had been living off of this list. It's like this painting almost in our mind that we write on it, and we say, okay, I'll be happy when I have boyfriend or girlfriend. Okay, check. Okay. Well, when we get married, check. And you keep coming back going, it didn't quite give me what I thought I was going to get from it. And a lot of times people then will go through their whole life like that. Well, when I have a better job, when I get that new car, when I have kids, when the kids go to school, when the kids move out, when I retire. And we're running out of things. And it's like, what are you going to do? Wait to be happy when you die. And you're like, stop. We just need to stop and go, wait. That does not work, because we've all done it. We've all sworn if we get that one last thing, then we'll be happy. And when it doesn't work, we're devastated. This is where we have fights with people like, well, you didn't give me that piece of jewelry that I wanted, because if I pay attention to the jewelry commercials, it says if I get this diamond, then I'll be happy. So you broke that promise. But in truth, you could have gotten the jewelry and you'd still be unhappy. So we've got to stop buying into the marketing and social media of outside of you is your source of happiness. Because aren't we just tired of it? I'm just tired of waiting for that happiness boat to show up.
I feel you on that one. And I think the New Year's resolution for this year could be, okay, I'm letting go of my happiness to-do list.
Exactly.
No more resolutions. These are my resolutions this year. Because I think a lot of times when we set resolutions, we say, okay, I'm setting these resolutions because I know that if I do these things, I'm going to be happy. Yeah. But actually, it doesn't really work that way. Like, you know, happiness. Yeah, it's something that happens in this moment, right? And also another thing is like what I recognize is sometimes we beat ourselves up if we're feeling sad. You know, I mean, sadness is an emotion. It's not necessarily like a bad thing if you're feeling sad. You know, because a lot of people think, oh my God, I can't be sad. So they suppress that feeling. Right. Oh my God, I can't be angry because I've got to be happy. And then they put on a face of happiness when actually that's not. What do you say to that?
Well, and there is such a big difference. And when you felt those moments of pure joy, pure peace, your body feels open, your heart feels open, you just in love with life. Like maybe you're just watching the sunset and you're just in awe of nature. That's the feeling of happiness. But when we're putting it outside of ourselves, like you said, I love that when you think about it, it is New Year's, the resolutions, we're doing it for a reason. We think we're going to get something from it. And we do things like, well, I want to lose 10 pounds. I want to work out more. Well, there's a thing attached that goes, because then I will be sexier, more attractive. Maybe I'll get a date. We have all these things that are attached that really don't have anything to do with the activity. Now, it's not a problem if you're like, okay, I'm going to eat healthier because it makes my body happy, right? But you're not, other than that, you're not doing it for anybody else, because we've all met those. When you're in that happy, joyful state, it doesn't matter your makeup. It doesn't matter if your hair is done. You make connections with people because you're leading with your heart. But when you're faking it, like you're talking about, everyone actually feels it, right? It's that fake it till you make it. Well, you're like, I'm happy. And everyone's like, I don't want to be around you, because our energy is, we don't realize we actually lead through life through our energy. And so that fake, there is an aspect, I will admit though, I do like the fake it till you make it, in an aspect of, you know what, I'm going to keep trying. How can I see a gift here? Okay, well, the only thing I can see maybe is the sun did shine today. Okay, that's going to be my source of happiness, right? Sometimes when you first start trying to change your belief systems, it does kind of feel a little like you're faking it. But in truth, what you're trying to do is reset your happiness set point for yourself. But when you try to do it to other people, that's where a lot of issues come up, because you're trying to make them buy into your story that you're happy when you're not. And like you said, being sad, being angry, all of our emotions are actually really healthy and we want them. So when you're feeling sad, what you want to do is actually feel that sadness. You want to be like I was, sobbing, wrapped up in a blanket, just crying your eyes out. And to be honest, if you really let yourself go, within a few minutes, you kind of stop and you're like, oh, okay, I feel better. What we tend to do is, like you said, we stop that. We go, oh, I shouldn't feel sad right now. So you stop feeling and lock it down, which means it's not free to flow. I know people that when we work together, we may be sobbing in one moment, and in the next moment, because they've released it, they're laughing and they're actually starting to see the irony of the situation or the funny side of the situation, but you have to feel it first. And that's what the work that I do is so important, is I love holding that space for people to just really know that they're safe and know that they can actually express any emotion that they have. And I'm actually going to sit with them and just hold that space without judgment. And it's so powerful. But it's so what people, when they first hear that, think, oh, that's pretty simple, until they experience the feeling of somebody holding the space without needing them to be any different than they are. And in our day-to-day relationships, it's kind of hard to have somebody else hold that space because they have a connection to you. They want you to be happy. They don't want you to be sad because that triggers their sadness. So you end up people trying to like, you start kind of like trying to fit into this little box to help the other person not feel uncomfortable. Well, I'm not going to feel uncomfortable. So it's great and it's a free feeling.
It's beautiful. And I know, you know, like I had a little bit of a sad moment yesterday. I think this full moon was quite intense. I don't know if you felt that, but I felt some intensity with this last full moon. But obviously there was a point where I was feeling quite sad. And my husband said to me, no, I just want you to be happy, blah, blah, blah. I want to do what I can to make you happy. And I was like, dude, no, it's not going to work like that. Like, and if I'm sad, it's just, I'm sad. You just got to be okay that I'm sad and be okay with it. And if I'm feeling sad, it's not anything about you. And you don't need to make me happy and I don't need to make you happy. We can choose our own happiness. And if I'm sad, just be there while I'm sad. And I'll be there when you're sad. And that's okay. You know, it doesn't mean that we are not a happy person if we're having a sad moment, right?
Exactly. What a way to emphasize how a relationship can show up, that you both communicate that way. And then you both honor that space. And we do forget. I mean, it's just human nature of like wanting to protect the ones we love. And we need to be the one that goes, okay, I love that about you, that you want to protect me, but I need to do this. I need to feel this. And just like you said, just ask for what we need. Like, I just need you to hold the space. Don't need you to fix it or do it. Just let me be sad. And then the other thing you said is like, just because you're a happy person at your basis doesn't mean you're not going to feel sadness. Things are going to happen to you. You're going to have things happen in your life. And it doesn't mean that you always are walking around with some big smile on your face. Now, I tend to walk around with a big smile on my face most of the time. But when I'm sad, I'm sad. And it's okay. And we know it's more about setting that set point so that we can feel the emotion, but then move back into the truth of it, which is love, right? The truth of our heart, the truth of a situation. There's always a gift to be had, but sometimes it takes a while, and it's okay. It can take you a while to be able to have enough space from the event to the feeling to really recognize the gifts it gave you. And you don't have to rush that, but if you kind of keep in the back of your mind, in the back of your heart, that there is a gift somewhere in this pile, it sometimes helps people move forward kind of with like, okay, there's going to be a prize in this pile somewhere. And it helps them maybe move forward instead of getting stuck. Because what you don't want to do is just get stuck in this kind of spiral where you don't shift. You're not shifting upwards. You're not shifting down. You're just kind of in a loop. And that's where people are like, they're always unhappy. And then they say they're always unhappy. Nothing ever works out for me. Life is really hard. And you say that, and then your perception is life is hard. And then you go, see, life is hard. Let me say it again. And so we literally keep ourselves trapped when our language is so important, what we say to ourselves. So we get to start to shift that, and having somebody face you allows you to kind of catch it because we'll hear it in the other person. I mean, I'm sure you've had this experience where somebody is talking to you and you're like, whoa, wait, I can see you blaming, or you're doing something that you don't really have to do. And you can kind of start to help them take a step back and go, let's change your language. This experience is hard. Okay. I had a car accident. Nah. Okay. But it's not that my life is hard. My life will always be hard. This always happens to me. Those are the things that allow our perception to think that that's all that ever happens. And then we miss all the good because we put these like sunglasses on. And if we think life is bad, they're dark, dark sunglasses and everything's dark.
Yes.
Right? But when you're in a happy place, you put the pink glasses on. Now everything's much brighter and happier. Now the events are still happening, but you kind of have a little bit more joy around it, or a little bit, sometimes you can see the humor in it of like, oh my God, that guy flipped me off on the freeway. And instead of getting all mad, you're like, oh my God, that was funny. And I feel bad. He must be in a really big hurry.
Yep.
Whatever's going on with him, wish you all the best.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's not
me, it's just what's going on with him. And you know, when you say that as well, like it's also one of the things that I've been playing with a lot is that every person is just a reflection of some aspect of me. So if someone is coming up with this funny thing of like blaming and complaining, I can look at it and instead of going, okay, they're blaming and complaining, I've got to let them know that they're blaming and complaining. I go, wow, so when am I blaming and complaining? When do I do this? And then looking at that and reflecting on it and going, can I just be with this person while they blame and complain and not judge them and not try to fix or change it and just breathe and just allow them to blame and complain without trying to do anything about it? And the funny thing is the minute I step into that space, they stop. It's hysterical. It's like, oh, it stopped.
And because of that, you're not buying into their story. You're just holding the space for them. And now it's not like a loop between the two of you, because if you buy into that story, it feeds their story. Then they give it back to you and you buy into it some more. So this is why that person maybe keeps talking about it, instead of you just holding the space and you're like, okay, well, I don't believe in blame, but okay. Mm-hmm. It's almost like you let go of that string. And sooner or later, they realize that there's nothing connecting you two. So they don't stop. And so, yeah, it's really funny, but you're right. What we see is definitely reflected in us, which is why the work on ourselves is so important, because if all you're seeing is negativity, that means all you're seeing in yourself is negativity. You're judging yourself. If you're judging everybody else, you're really in truth judging yourself. You're saying, I'm not good enough if nobody around you is good enough. And it's like, well, let's work on us because we can't fix anybody else. Let's look inside and heal those spaces. And then we actually start to see the good aspects, because it works the other way as well. Like when you see somebody, you're like, oh my God, you have such a beautiful heart. Mm-hmm. That means you have that and you recognize that in you. Now, you may not be consciously recognizing it in yourself, but you have that same aspect. So it works positively and negatively. What you see is in you. Everything's in us. So where do you want to put your attention?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. I love that. And that could be a really good New Year's resolution, is not necessarily saying I'm going to do this and closing making it confined and saying I'm going to do this. Rather saying, I wonder if I could be open to allowing myself to be more happy, or if I could be open to what possibilities this is going to bring for me, rather than just going into, okay, this is what I'm doing this year, this is how it's going to be, and instead going, I wonder.
Yeah, I love that. Because you want to be open to those possibilities. And whenever you're asking or stating that question, like, I wonder, it kind of just opens up your mind. Even around, like, let's say happiness. If you go, I can look back and realize, even if you go, I'm going to be happy. Like at that moment, I had to make that demand of myself and the universe for things to start shifting. But at the same time, since that, it is much more of like, I wonder how much happiness I can hold. I wonder, because the amount of happy that in the first year, the second year, the third year, like I've expanded my heart. And so I love bigger. I'm more open to possibilities, which actually just raises my happiness point. So I can be happy in different situations than I ever would have even 5 years ago. And it's always expanding. So we never want to put those limits on ourselves, because it's not as much fun. Like even at, your intentions, right? I'm just going to, I wonder how much joy I can experience this year. I wonder how many smiles I can give this year. We can make it into the being of ourselves versus the doing of ourselves. I wonder if I can ask my body what it wants to eat instead of going from stress eating, or I always eat this on a Friday. Stop and maybe ask, right? So as we start to communicate with our hearts, other aspects of ourselves start to fall in line.
I love it. And that is the key, is communicating with our hearts. And I mean, that's, I think, one of the big things that's going to be quite a big lesson for our collective consciousness. And one of the big things that is going to be like the next new wave, or the next trend, if you want to even call it that. Not that it's a trend, it's just the next level of our growth, is us coming into our hearts. Because I think a lot of people are recognizing that this mind just takes you round and round and round in circles, and you just do the same thing. It's like banging your head against the wall and then having a bruise and wondering why you've got a bruise. Oh, wait a minute, I'm banging my head against the wall. Oh, look, I'm still banging my head against the wall. I wonder why this bruise is getting bigger. It's because I'm banging my head against the wall. You know, you got to get to the point where you realize this banging my head against the wall is not working. Mm-hmm. Using the mind as a problem solver doesn't really work unless your heart is involved as well. And I think a lot of people have been so caught up in here, it's like the heart is opening whether they like it or not. And that's, I think, also part and parcel where a lot of people are saying they're having anxiety and, you know, these things are happening from the heart space, is because the heart is trying to get them to pay attention. It's trying to say, come, hey, listen. I'm trying to show you something here. And that's why, you know, I like taking the big deep breaths in the beginning, because we get to really just be present and get into our, when you breathe in your lungs, your heart, you like bringing attention to your heart, and you're going, okay, I'm bringing my attention here, rather than all up here, you know. So it's beautiful that you say that as you just start to breathe into your heart, the happiness just happens. It's not even like you have to try, you know.
And it is true. I mean, I'm talking about living in your head. You know, I've spent my career being a financial and sales and marketing analyst. So I'm supposed to be in my head. And so to have taken this journey where now I have my heart and my mind come together, it makes such a difference. And the second we forget, this is where that happiness kind of idea comes from, is because we get into our head and all of a sudden we're not in our heart. And that's where the stress comes up. That's where we're feeling overwhelmed. We're not feeling appreciated. And in truth, it's like, okay, we got to come back to our heart. We breathe and we go, okay, where am I not, like, let's say appreciation. My boss isn't appreciating me. We have to appreciate ourselves. And the more we do that, we'll come out of our head, we're into our heart. And that allows us to move and shift and have more of a heart mind going forward. And it takes practice, because we all love to just try to figure it out. But there's a lot of things in life that when you're just actually in your heart and in your flow, something might show up. Like my teachers have showed up. I've traveled around the world and had some experiences that are so amazing simply because I was in line with my heart. And I said yes. And so for me, I'm able to really work with people that do have a lot of, I'm stuck in my head, because I can relate and I know that journey. So a lot of men, they're really taught not to ever be in their heart. It's really hard for men. But I'm coming from a very business background. So I'm able to work with men in a way that allows them to feel safe, because I can talk to them from the analytical and start to open them up. And that's always an amazing journey to watch, because when we are missing a piece of ourselves and not being whole, and when we come back together, it's like, it's magic. I mean, it lights my heart up so much. And so whether it's a man or a woman, I'm able to work with them, because we all have an aspect of wanting to live in our minds. We think we can figure it out. And so it's a journey that we have to go on to open ourselves up to the possibilities that maybe there's something bigger than ourselves. Maybe there's a bigger idea. We can have all the ideas we want, but we are actually keeping ourselves a little bit small because of what we've been taught.
I love that. That's
a strange sound came through, but I actually heard this the other day. It was so funny. I was like, okay, the ocean was coming through, I think. But I heard this analogy the other day and I thought it was so brilliant. They were talking about how do you train circus fleas? And I was like, okay, I didn't think that was a real thing. And it was, they literally would take a jar and put fleas in the jar and put the lid on it. And the fleas want to jump and they hit the roof, like they hit the lid. And that generation learns that that's as far as they can go. So they take the lid off the jar and they've trained them to not jump any higher. But what they said is then their offspring only jump that far too. So they stop, they don't jump out of their container, even though it wasn't them learning the lesson and hitting their own head. It's the generation before. So as people, we've had, as a human race, we've done the same thing because our past and our family in the past, there were certain limitations, and then they pass it down to the next. Well, you can't do that. And then their fears gets loaded on top of it. So I want to protect my child. Oh, you're maybe not good in art. Don't bother. Don't do art. Well, our parents, right, are trying to be loving and protect us, but they've just literally put the lid on you and said, you can't do this. Don't bother. Don't bother jumping any higher than that. And a lot of times when you don't sit in your heart and ask yourself and release the belief systems that are keeping you kind of stuck in that, the more you're in your heart and the more you're in joy, the more you go, well, so what if I'm horrible in art? I'm going to do it anyways because who cares? And then you find here's a whole aspect of yourself that you have kept hidden. I mean, I did it for 40 years. I didn't think I was an artist. And all of a sudden I was like, well, what's the worst? Okay, I can look like a 5-year-old. Okay, I did it anyways. And then I started doing like painting and wine classes and all this stuff. And I have my artwork behind me. And, and it makes me
beautiful. I love it.
Right? And so I'm so happy that I was able to have that realization of like one of my limits that wasn't mine. It just came from like 6th grade art class. But when we're young, sometimes it doesn't, all it takes is maybe even one time of being told, you're not good at this. And we're so trained to want to be good and get appreciation and good grades that sometimes we just, okay, I'm not good at it. Let me just stop. Not realizing that maybe it was the teacher. Like there's a lot of kids now going through school and teachers are now just starting to recognize there's different ways of learning. So just because you don't learn, you don't pick it up by like reading the text, you need to hear it, right? Or you have to read it or you have to do it. But school goes, okay, well, we're going to fail you because you didn't do it our way. And so how much of our society has been brought up with this idea, like you can't do it. You can't be happy. Who are you to be happy? Aren't you happy enough? Like literally,
yeah.
Like, can you imagine being asked that? You just go, wait a minute. Is it possible to ever be happy enough? Like, it's not that you're taking away from anybody. You're just living in more joy. So even the smallest things bring you joy. So you don't need all these big things and your abundance flows and your finances change because you're not having to like go buy the next newest iPhone or the next newest thing because you're like, no, I'm happy. And when I do want that, then I can buy it. But I don't have to buy it to get my happiness. So it's so interesting how we start to realize that your past and all of these things that happened to us as a child, even though they didn't seem maybe even serious, it actually has that tendril and it goes right through your entire life till now. So when I'm working with somebody, I'm able to look at that pattern and go, okay, well, let's go back and see where that started. And what if we change that story? What if we let that go? And like this, people have changed. Wait a minute, you mean I'm allowed to play? Yes. I'm not too old to play? No. Well, what would you love to play? I would love to go throw a ball with, okay, then go do it. Right now? Yes. Why not? And so it's really important for us to kind of always be aware of where that limitation we've set that we can just take. All we do is take the lid off and go, okay, now what are my choices? Right.
And I think also, as you were saying, that comes down to like with your family. If your family had this thing in the past, like growing up, they never allowed themselves to be happy. they never, like all the happiness stories and things they created around happiness, you automatically think that those are normal, you know, like, but they're not necessarily normal. Kids, you know, it's a totally different thing. So it's also about unlocking and questioning our belief systems that we were brought up with, even around happiness, that says, I have to have this amount of money to be happy, or I have to have this and this and this to be happy. Not because you made that belief, but your parents have it, or your grandparents have it, or their parents have it, and it's just passed along the lines that you think, oh, you know, we don't have to have money, but we'll be happy. So we're poor but happy. So then it's like the whole generational thing becomes poor but happy. You know, you can't be rich and happy. You can only be poor and happy. It's like, it doesn't make any sense, but unconsciously, the unconscious mind creates that story. And then we live by it, not knowing that we've actually just, there's no lid, but we're currently just only jumping that high. You know, it's fascinating. It's interesting and it's fascinating at the same time. And I just want to check in. Is there anyone here who has any questions for Linda about the happiness? I'm going to open up the question space now, because I know Linda said she wanted to play some bowls for us, and she's going to get us into some gorgeous happiness activation. I think let's call it a happiness activation. And so we can all feel the joy and feel the bliss as we're starting 2018 we're going into, which is an 11 year, which is a master year, which means that we're all masters. Anyone who's watching this right now is a master.
I love that.
Happiness master, right? So, So Linda's going to give us a treat with the crystal bowls. And if you've got any questions, please type in the chat. We can also bring you into the room. So if you do want to come into the room, just raise your hand. And we can chat about that in a minute if you really want to come into the room with us and be seen on screen, which would be fun too. So yes, I'm going to leave it up to you. Linda, take it away.
Okay, so I thought we would do a little meditation. With my crystal bowls, I use these to release the energy. They shift you into your heart because they're so powerful, and they're also very beautiful. So I love sound and music to go along with it helps our minds come out of our mind and back into our heart. So I'm just going to do a quick meditation, and then we're going to see where this takes us. So close your eyes. If you can, put your feet flat on the floor. We're going to take a deep breath, and we're going to breathe that energy up through our body and down to our feet. And we're going to exhale out our feet into the earth, allowing any pieces of hurt, misunderstanding, feeling like you're not getting it, flows through your body and out your feet. So take another deep breath and exhale out. We're going to breathe in the energy of the earth up through our feet and into our heart. Take a deep breath in. And as you exhale, imagine that breath going out your heart, out to the world. Just opening your heart, allowing it to open in this beautiful space. You're safe. Take another deep breath in, and then exhale. Now we're going to live some love to our minds. And as we breathe in, let's breathe in this energy from the universe down through the crown of your head and right into your third eye, which is right between your eyebrows. This is our intuition. This is the center of our mind. So let's breathe in and then exhale out and imagine just all of your thoughts, everywhere you figured it out. Just let it go as you exhale. So breathe in And exhale. Allow yourself to just breathe one more time in from the universe. Breathe it in through your mind, through your crown, into your third eye, and exhale. And let yourself feel the connection from the universe down through your body and out your feet to the earth, and from your heart out to the world. You're in this bubble of light. It's surrounding you. And it's your heart space, and it's that happiness, that joy, the peace, and the calm that comes from being centered in your heart. Just allow yourself to visualize, just imagine it. Just a bubble around you that's just warm and caring and loving. And it's just holding that space around you. And what it's doing is allowing all your systems to be integrated. Your mind and your heart and your connection and the grounding to the earth. This is who you truly are. This feeling of spaciousness in your heart. The knowing that life is good. The knowing that no matter what's happening, it will get better. Things are always going to change. And as we open up our heart, it frees the pain that you might have had in that heart and just let it dissipate. Let's just flow out as you exhale. Every exhale, just imagine anything that you no longer want to hang on to, just releasing out of your body, out of your heart, and out of your mind. Happiness is a state of mind and a state of heart. It's a choice to let go of the past, the way things have always been done, the way you think they have to be done for the future. Happiness is just that feeling of connection. And we want to be so grateful for that feeling of love, the connection, the feeling of what is possible in your life. The knowing that you can change and shift your perceptions, the energy around it, and that you don't even have to change anything in your actual experience. You let go of any idea that being happy means you're going to have to lose your relationships, quit your job, disrupt your life. It just simply means that you're living in your heart, connected more fully with everything around you, and you see the truth of the beauty of life and the choices that are available for you to bring into your own heart. And as you slowly come back, allow yourself to feel the ground beneath your feet, the chair that you're sitting on, the support that you have. Allow yourself to gently come back into your body. You can slowly rub your hands together to warm them up. This brings you back fully into the here and the now. And then you can gently open your eyes.
How was that? Oh, that was amazing. If you in the chat, give us a little yes, what that was for you, Kim. Let us know what you think. Whoever else is there with us, say hi. That was amazing. Wow, I'm like,
I love playing with the bowls.
oh, so good. So good. Wow. There's just this peace, this feeling of peace right now. It's just this feeling of like, just this like total calmness, you know?
And that's what sound can do for us. And that's actually the feeling, right, of actual, that peace is part of your happiness. It doesn't have to be this high energy. It just can be calm and peace. So I'm glad you can feel that.
Divine. Divine, 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 divine.
This is kind of the space that we want to get into when we start getting ready to release some of our belief systems. Because in this space, you're calm, you're in your heart. And then it's easier to start to look a little bit deeper because you don't have the mind as attached to letting go. Because the mind is there to just protect us. It doesn't like change. It doesn't realize that life is changing in every moment and that it doesn't have to mean anything. So when we're in this space, when we start to ask ourselves, you know, something that's like on our happiness list, right? I'll be happy when I'm in a relationship. But then the next question is, okay, so what's the meaning behind that? What do you think you're going to receive by being in that relationship? So what are some things that you think would come up for somebody in a relationship, Bev?
Sorry, I put myself on mute now. I was busy responding to Kim because she's saying good stuff. Thanks, Linda. Aww. So you asked me what are some of the things that could come up in a relationship?
If you're thinking, if I get a relationship, then I'll be happy. What is the reason do you think that is going to be so? What's the meaning?
I think a lot of people, when they go into a relationship, the reason they think it's going to make them happy is because they're deeply looking for that connection. They're looking for love because they're probably we're not taught to give love to ourselves. We're not taught to feel a connection with our own heart. So the only time that we can actually then allow ourselves to feel a connection with our own heart is if we are in love with someone outside of us, which in actual fact is just a reflection of us. And we're going to attract anything in another person, all the things that we don't love in ourselves, to reflect back to us all the stuff that we're not loving about ourselves, so that we can learn to love it about ourselves, so that that person doesn't need to play that game anymore. And I think sometimes people even attract a relationship because they want to make someone happy, or they want someone to make them happy. Yeah. So they play that game as well. So think, oh, when I have the relationship, then I'll be happy because I can't give it to myself. Only another can give it to me. And I think that comes from family programming, because I think the older generations also still believe in, you know, needing to have a partner in order to be happy or to make somebody else happy. So I think there's a lot of reasons why people then go and look for and say, oh, I need a relationship before I can choose this.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, because it keeps going, right? Safety. I need to be in a relationship. It's for security. And we put all those ideas outside of ourselves. But the truth is we have to give it to ourselves first, because like you said, if you don't, you're going to attract the pieces that you still haven't healed. And this is where we see people in patterns with relationships where they keep dating the same kind of person. It's because they haven't actually taken the time to heal their heart and to say, wait a minute. Oh, I haven't been honoring me. Like for me, honoring comes up a lot with people because we're taught not to be selfish. And we don't realize that honoring ourselves isn't selfish. Selfish is when you're taking away from somebody else. But honoring yourself doesn't have anything to do with anybody else. It's you setting your boundaries, you loving you knowing what's important to you, what aspects are something that you don't compromise for. Because the second you start to compromise something that is a core value for yourself, for somebody else to make them love you, what happens is, one, you dishonor you, and the other person actually picks up on the fact that you're dishonoring yourself. And then even though you thought that would get their love, it doesn't. And so we have to be really careful in the fact that where is our truth, but it takes time to get there. It is not something that, because we're not taught that. And I mean, society and every single movie is all about, you got to have your couple, you got to win the girl, you got to, you know, be in this relationship. And it's, you know, the ones that are like about single people are always like these comedies and like how messed up their lives are. And you're like, this is the only stories we see. We don't see the healthy relationships because they're not filled with drama. So you can't make a TV movie out of that. If everyone's like, oh, honey, I love you. Oh, you want to do that? Oh, I'd be happy to help you with that. Let me, like, there's no collaboration. You know, our society thinks that would be boring instead of living in like, but how could it be boring if your whole heart was so engaged and alive and both of you were in that energetic space? Because now, like, everything you do is like, oh my God, this is so amazing. This is so much fun. This is so joy-filled. And both of you are doing it. So I can't think of anything more exciting. That sounds much more fun to me, to have a relationship that way, than it is to have one that's based on drama of like, are you cheating on me? I don't trust you. You know, and we do those patterns so easily because of our past stories. And so it's such this is why I love transformational work, because no matter what aspect you start with, it will start to help you in every aspect of your life. So you may think you have a problem with relationships, but as you start to heal your heart with that, and let's say it's the honoring, you'll start to realize that, oh, I haven't actually been honoring with my job. I need to start setting boundaries. And the fact is, once you start setting boundaries and that are honoring, everyone around you goes, oh, okay, I no longer can use you as a doormat. And then they actually shift. Like, it's so incredible to watch what happens around you as you become more of you. And so for me, that's what this journey is all about, is really coming into your heart and letting go of all these pieces so that every aspect of your life starts to just flourish. Your relationships, your job, your abundance, your life in general, your health, all of those are just aspects of ourselves that we get to pull in through happiness, because it's a great sensor of where we're at. Because if you hate an aspect of your life, you need to look at it. And you need to start healing it. And it's not something, we're always going to be growing bigger and bigger and bigger. So you can have some great awarenesses and shift. And then what's next? What's the next level? What's the next level? So it's such an exciting place to be for myself. I love doing self-development work myself. And so I know that's why it's so powerful for everybody else that I work with. So it's just amazing that we get to play with this.
Yes, and that's another thing I wanted to just find out from you, Linda, is are you obviously do coaching one-on-one with people? What kind of things do you do? And I know that you're putting together some sort of program coming up soon as well.
Yeah, well, my website is up, lindaedmiston.com. And so I do one-on-one sessions. And I will be doing some small group sessions in the coming months as we start to unfold for the new year what people are looking for, what's their hot buttons, because I know what happens is this is their hot button, and that is where they are willing to go first. And then we can help them there. And then we move into other areas as they realize what a big shift it makes. So I'm very excited about what this new year is going to be and what's going to show up. And but yeah, so right now I'm really concentrating on my coaching clients and bringing them into as much love and happiness as they're willing to go into.
It's amazing. It's amazing. And, you know, it's so wonderful that you're such an inspiration, that you've kind of been there. So, you know, excuse me, ooh, got hiccups. You know the road. So it's like, okay, well, I've done this. Just, check it out. Let me guide you. And, you have an awareness of it. You've experienced it. You've been to those depths of despair. So people who are in those places and spaces, like you said yourself, you found yourself a coach, and that's what helped you. You know, it's like, that's why I love the show and why I love interviewing people like yourself, is because I know the value of having a good coach, because I've had great coaches, and that's helped me. Just because when we're inside our own heads all the time, we can't see anything outside of our own reality. And even our family and our friends and the people we attract are all the same kind of reality. But when you find someone who's a really good coach like yourself, it's so wonderful, because that can give you another perspective and a new way of looking at things, so that you have more than just the normal perspective that you've grown up with, or your family history, or, you know, the people that you've attracted as mirrors of yourself. Right. You now have someone who's got some skills and tools to help you to unlock those pieces where you feel stuck, or you feel like you're not moving forward, or you feel like it's looping, or you like, I keep bringing the same men into my life, or the same woman into my life, or I keep attracting the same job, or I keep, whatever the case may be. There's so many reasons of things that we do. And I love the way you spoke about, you know, this repetitive thing that seems to happen. And it's almost like the universe or God or our higher self or whatever you believe in is saying, hello, we want to get you out of this part of the game. Can you just you know, like, can you just pass this test already? Come on. Or can you just like realize
that possibility, right? Because it's like the universe is knocking, and a lot of times we wait until we kind of hit rock bottom. I mean, and I get it, and that's how I had to do it, and a lot of people do. But I also offer that you don't have to wait, because if you're not living like a super happy, joyful life all the time, it's like, okay, then there's something there. But most people are not all the way there. You're in that middle. And then also, if you are crashing and burning, like, it's okay. Like you said, I've been there. I understand how hard it is and how scary it is. But what's so interesting is the universe does, the second you open up and say, okay, I need help, all these resources show up. And I know the right teachers have always showed up right when I was ready. And so by you having the show allows you to showcase so many beautiful teachers and different coaches, and everyone has what they are in alignment with. And so every single person, it's not like there's one person, one coach for each person. You're going to find your match for your energy and what you're looking for right now. And you are able to work with that person and grow and shift and change. And then, you know, you might reach a point where then you have the next teacher show up. And for, I think, good coaches, what you're wanting is your clients to grow and shift and change. And they don't have to always be with you forever. You're like, hey, if I'm showing up in your life right now, I got to say that maybe I'm supposed to be here for a reason for you. And then let us work together, and then let's see what happens. But it's not a competition. There's no the right one. So you really, I tell people, find the coach that really resonates with your heart. Find the person that when you talk to them, you feel safe, that they challenge you, that they give you tools, and really literally concrete tools that you can work with. For me, that's the kind of coaching I want. Because I've had coaching that wasn't like that. I've had coaches that were just, let me talk, but then you'd end the session, and then you just, we'll come back next week. And then you felt like, but I'm not going anywhere. I'm just repeating my story. And you want somebody to listen to your story, but then be willing to like help you then shift to the next level. So I think it's a great opportunity that you offer. So I'm so grateful, Bev, for your show. It's amazing. And to have all of these resources for everyone to use. It's a blessing. And coming in 2018, this is what the world needs. The world needs to come into their heart more, and people need to learn how to do that. It's not something that we're taught in school. So you need to go out and find a teacher that will help you get there if you're ready. And if you're ready to say, you know what, my life is, maybe it's okay, but I want it to be better. Or my life is terrible. You definitely want to move forward, because why would you want to just be miserable? Like, that you're not winning any awards for, I had the most miserable life. There's no like plaque at the end for that. It's like, oh wait, will I have some more fun while I'm here? Because we never know what is gonna end in a moment. Like life is not guaranteed past right now. So for me, I want to grab as much life and as much joy, as much happiness as I can to really enjoy my time here. And
Amazing.
And everyone around me to have that same gift of just like waking up, loving life.
I love it. 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 So Linda, if people want to connect with you, it's Linda Edmiston. I'm just going to type it in here. Just give me a second. Linda EDMISTON.com. There we go. Linda Edmiston.com. And so you can visit her website. She's got a contact form and you could just contact her directly. And then if you are watching this on YouTube, please feel free to subscribe to this beautiful channel, because we're going to be putting some more amazing, love stories out there with amazing people. So you're welcome to do that. If you like it as well. And then we will obviously put Linda's information on the YouTube page. So if you look down a little bit, you'll see in the description how to connect with her. And Linda, thank you so much for playing with us today. It was wonderful to have you on the show.
I had so much fun.
And thank you to everyone who joined us live. I know we had Kim who spoke to us. I think everyone else was a bit shy because there were a few more people in the room and I think they were just a bit shy, but it's okay. Next time you come on the show, come say hi to us, okay?
Right.
Thank
you for being here. I really appreciate it.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. Thank you, Linda. And as always, everyone, we're going to say goodbye. And remember to love your life.